My name's Jane O'Connor. I started playing sports as an athlete. So I'm from Fort Macleod, and I went to FP Walsh. Who's ever been to Fort Macleod? I really like Fort Macleod, but sometimes there's not a lot to do there. So lots of people play sports because, I mean, it's really windy, and walking around town with your friends when it's just like windy, there's nowhere to walk to. You could go to Max, I guess, and get a Slurpee, but there's not a lot. So you gotta play sports and get invested in sports. So I played volleyball and basketball and rugby and did some track and field and cross country. Some of you guys might have done this with cross country and with track and field. Maybe there's no practices, or you don't have to go to the practices. They're just come this one day and you get to do sports. So that's fun. Who does track and field? Who's done basketball before? Even if it was when you were grade 7. Volleyball? Rugby? Woo, woo. Football? Cool. Cool. So after I finished high school, I went to the U of L to play rugby and to do the education program, to become a teacher. So I played rugby at the U of L for 3 years. And after that, I could no longer play due to an injury. I got a concussion, and then in my 4th year, actually my 3rd year, I was kind of trying to figure that out. And then in my 4th year, I wasn't able to do any contact for that time being, and they were trying to figure out what was going on. So I had to find other ways to be involved in sports. After high school, to be involved in sports, I started coaching. As a teacher, I coached some basketball in Fort Macleod, so boys basketball. I also went back to my own school to coach rugby because I really loved what rugby had given me. I coached a club team in Lethbridge, which is Trolls Men's. It was just a really fun team. You could join if you hadn't played, you could join if you had played a long time, and it was just university level boys kind of club. And one thing I wanted to point out is, if you're a female in this room, there's lots of females, you're not limited to coaching female sports. You can coach men's sports, you can participate in men's sports in different ways, and vice versa. If you're a dude, you don't just have to do guys' sports, you can be involved in women's sports too. A lot of teams, as you get older, like basketball and rugby teams, when you go to a university, you become buddies with the people that are on the team that's the men's and women's. You travel together, all of that. So don't feel okay, I can only coach the girls and I don't see an opening. You could check with the boys team. There's lots of things for that. And you don't have to only coach or ref or be involved in sports you've already played. There was no football in Fort Macleod, but I have experience in sports and I'm passionate about sports. So there's no reason I couldn't go and get involved in football now, even though I'm an adult and I've never played. Next. So I was coaching and they really needed refs. So in order to have a rugby game, you kind of need a ref. Rugby's there's a lot of people hitting each other and stuff, and you kind of need to have some rules around that, and you need to have someone making sure those rules happen. I was also finding another way to continue to learn about the sport because I wasn't being coached in it anymore. And I was just helping the team. They needed officials, etc. So we're just gonna do a little activity to get you guys moving. Can you guys all stand up? And we're going to do a little Simon Says. And there's 2 ways to get out. I'm Simon, and if I don't say the thing and you do it anyways, if I don't say Simon Says, then you're out. Also, if you can't do the thing that I'm asking, you also are out. And when you're out, you're gonna sit down. Okay, we'll start easy. Simon Says hop once. Simon Says spin around. Simon Says stand on 1 foot. Switch feet. Simon Says you could put your foot down. Simon Says touch the floor with both hands. Okay, stand back up. I didn't say if you stood back up, you're out. If you're down there still. Okay, Simon Says stand up. Simon Says flap your arms. Simon says, flap your arms with one foot. Simon says, stop flapping your arms and touch one finger to the ground. And come back up. Sorry, that was, Simon says, come back up. Okay, Simon says you can put your foot down. Now spin around and jump. No? Okay, Simon says, do one of these. Okay, Simon says, touch your head. Simon says, touch your belly with the other hand. Simon says, one foot. Simon says, other foot. Spin around once. No, oh, I didn't get anyone. Okay, you guys can all sit down now. Those of you that did it, you're winners. So just to point out a few things about what you guys did there, I think most of you were pretty honest. And what you were doing was self-officiating or self-refereeing the rules, right? You knew the rules, and you knew if you broke them and you sat down. Or maybe you're like, I don't know, maybe it was on the edge, so you waited till the next one. But all of you guys kind of had an image in your mind, like, this is the 2 rules. If I don't do that thing, I sit down. And sometimes when you have like grade 1s or something, they don't self-regulate or officiate themselves very well, and they just like really want to be in it, they really want to be in the game, so they just maybe think they're going to bend the rules a little bit. But as we get older, we realize that that doesn't always work, and we realize that there's lots of opportunities to get back into other games. There's always going to be more games. So we start to follow the rules a little bit more, and it makes sports way more fun. Because if there's rules, then there's a lot more to winning and losing, right? And there's a lot more enjoyment in when you can successfully complete one of the rules, like a touchdown or a try or scoring a basket or a foul shot. Why say yes to officiating? That's for you guys. Officiating is the same thing as refereeing. Different sports might have different names, umpires, etc. Okay. So first of all, you might just be someone who loves sports and you want to be involved in any way. That's a great reason. Go to the next one. So rugby is one of my favorite things in the world. I love learning the rules. I love watching games. I love being with rugby people. And I just really, really enjoy rugby as a sport and as a community. So I just want you guys to kind of turn to the people at your table and think about if there's a sport that really brings you joy, and if there isn't, think of something else and just tell the people at your table something that really brings you joy. Just go now. Okay, put your hand up if you can tell me something someone else at your table said. Yeah. Soccer brings joy. Cool. Basketball, sweet. Someone at this table can tell me something someone else at the table said? Volleyball brings someone else joy? Pardon? Dragon boating? That's so cool. Sweet. Awesome. Who does dragon boating? Wow, you guys are so cool. I love that. I never had the opportunity to do that, but I'd still like to. So most of us here, we listed sports. Is there anyone that watching sports brings them joy? They just like would spend all day sitting on the couch watching basketball if they could or whatever, because it's just fun to watch sports. Yeah, so you might not even like to play that sport or feel like you can play that sport at the level you want, but just watching sports is fun. It gives you a chance to get in the game. I think that when you're an athlete, there's days that you get in the game, there's days that you don't. As a higher level athlete, sometimes you get to a level that is just maybe above where you're at and you're just kind of reaching to grow into that level, and maybe you don't get to play a lot. Sometimes that happens when people are in grade 11 between like grade 10 and 12 for volleyball or basketball, and they're on the JV team, and maybe they're really trying to be with the seniors, but then so they go to a senior tournament, but maybe they're playing more with the JVs. And so just to be able to like get yourself back in the game, if you have a season that you're not playing a lot, if you're off with an injury, anything like that, there's a way for you to get into the game and get your mindset in the game. So instead of being sidelined as a spectator, you get to be part of the game. You can enjoy the highs and lows and the excitement of each play if you're a ref. And if you like adrenaline, you can get it reffing for sure. Like, reffing gives you a lot of adrenaline. It's a great way to stay active as you get older. You need to find different ways to stay active, and sports aren't always accessible, but we always need referees and officials. And if you have to chase someone down on the rugby field to ref the play, then you also have to be very active. Lots of women's rugby refs, they train like 5 days a week for it because they ref sevens rugby, which is 7-minute halves of like almost full sprinting and with a 1-minute break in the middle. And they might ref like 4 or 5 games in a day, which is a lot of sprinting. So they just really have to be active and be healthy. Yeah. Who doesn't like getting paid to exercise? You won't need much motivation to work out through officiating because you get in better shape, and that'll make you a better official. Even simple officiating roles like linesmen keep you active. So there's not only like being the main referee, but assistant referees as well. It's a way to give back to the community. Okay, next. So most officials feel like they've gotten something out of the sport that they love, and they want to give it back and pay it forward. So officiating is a way to guide and enrich the lives of other athletes and teach them sportsmanship and just like teach them the nature of the game and the things you loved about the game. Yeah, you go next. So extra money. This one, it is awesome for high schoolers because sometimes your job wouldn't regularly fit into your high school schedule, your busy grade 12 schedule. And a game usually is maybe a couple hours, sometimes usually in the evenings or weekends, where you can fit something that you might not be able to fit in like a 6-hour shift somewhere. Yeah, the next one's good, sure. So I ref sevens rugby sometimes, which is only 15 minutes long, and you get paid about 20 bucks a game. So that's $80 an hour if you're thinking hourly. Obviously, I don't ref 4 games in an hour because that would be impossible for me, but some of you, I think that if they were like the grade below you, you could do it for sure. So it's a lot per hour. You're getting a lot of value. High school soccer refs typically make between $35 and $60 a game. The amount varies depending on your referee experience, travel costs, and other factors. You can earn an additional income through tournaments because you can stack games up on each other. Many sports start training referees as young as 14. Put your hand up if you're older than 14. Cool, so most of you, there might be an opportunity. And the general rule is you're like 2 to 3 years older than the group you're refereeing, and then you're pretty much old enough to start refereeing. So, next. This is just like for Alberta minor hockey. It's an officials rate sheet, and it shows you the breakdown of different officials that they make here and how they kind of break it up. So once you get to the higher levels, they're making quite a bit more a game. But even if you look at the lower levels, they're making like this. That's the breakdown of how much each referee gets. So a team of 4 referees might be making $235. So $65 for the 2 main referees, and then the assistant referees are $52 a game, which is pretty sweet. If you ref for a couple years, get some experience, then you can be making a lot. If you go to the highest level of refereeing, there's a lot more money to be made. And if you're like, I would love to be in the NBA, but I don't think that I want to like play basketball in the NBA because for whatever reason you don't think that's gonna work. NBA refs make between $150,000 to $500,000 a year. That's the top level. $500,000 would be like the very top level ref, but that's like $500,000 a year. NFL, the average referee makes $200,000 a year. A Wimbledon chair umpire makes $6,000 for a week. So when they go to Wimbledon, they do that week and they make $6,000. It's a great escape from the rest of the world. If you're stressed in school, if you're stressed in university, if you have family stuff going on, it's just a way to like completely take your mind off of it. And you have to be mentally there so you're not thinking of other things, because you're kind of always engaged in the game and distracted by the game. So it's a great way to like pull yourself away from the problems of life. You can go to the next one. Thanks. Camaraderie and community. There's a whole bunch of community to be built just with refereeing. So these are, with sports in general as well, actually. So these are a couple of my friends that play on the women's national team. And I went to New Zealand this year actually last year, I guess, November, to watch the Women's Rugby World Cup. And I got to see them there. So on the left side is Paige Ferries. She plays winger. On this side is Dalika Menon. She plays prop. Dalika's from Vulcan. They play on the women's national team now. And every stage of sports is just like a great place to make friends. I played with them when I was way younger, like 16, playing Rugby Alberta. I got to play with these girls, and now they're doing that. And I went and saw them play, and it's really cool to know those people. So the fellowship you get in referees, you really quickly realize that there's no other community like it. Your other friends, sometimes you're the bad guy as a referee. Usually there's 50% of the people in the room that love you, 50% of the people that hate you, and it can flip on a dime. But the other referees are always there to support you, and they understand where you're coming from because they've also been in that situation. It's common in the reffing community to have a mentor that watches you and watches your game and helps you build skills. So you're not doing it alone. You usually can find someone to mentor you, and you might be like, I don't know how to find someone to mentor me. If you talk to officials and you just say like, hey, I would like an extra hand at this game, there's always people that have retired or maybe just aren't doing it that weekend that can come and give you some pointers. And it's a lot more helpful than the crowd giving you pointers because they're biased. You build a lot of life skills reffing. So it teaches you independent thinking, the ability to see the bigger picture, and that's a skill that translates outside of officiating. It requires dedication, togetherness, and ability to work as a team, and that's important everywhere. It looks great on your resume. Those life skills really can help you in the long run get jobs and just be a more confident person and feel like you're competent. Fortitude, do you guys know what fortitude means? Kind of. So go to the next one. Mental fortitude is kind of like a bit like strength and perseverance. So with the whistle in your hand, knowing you're the last line of defense between sport and chaos, it forces you to step up. And sometimes that can be very scary, but it teaches you to stand up for yourself and be assertive. And you have to learn to control the game and kind of control the room. And as you learn to do that, you gain a lot of confidence in being like, you know what, I can be assertive. I can advocate for myself in other areas. It gives you tons of opportunities, just the connections you make for sport, being in refereeing, officiating, or other things. There's so many connections you build. So this was at the Rugby World Cup, and just being there, I got to meet some really cool people. I was like a huge, huge fan of Kendra Coxedge. She plays for the Black Ferns, which is New Zealand's women's national team, and she's a scrum half, and she's retiring after this year, and I've always idolized her, and I got to meet her and say hello and take a picture, and that was really cool. And that was just because sports build that kind of environment. You can't really do that with movie stars, but athletes understand that you're there to watch them, and they really appreciate that. Officials are often identified and associated with teams they work with and are known outside of officiating by coaches, players, and fans. So sometimes I see people at the grocery store and they're like, hey, did you ref my game? And I'm like, yeah. And you just learn to know other people in the community. You meet amazing players, you meet amazing coaches, which can open other opportunities. And the skill of refereeing is really respected as experience for many jobs. So I'm gonna get all of you guys to turn to your table. I want you to think of a professional athlete that's like your favorite that you would be so excited to meet, and share that with your table. Okay, I'm gonna start on this side of the room now, and we're just gonna hear some of those athletes you'd be excited to meet. Actually, I'll give you 30 more seconds because it looks like you guys have some thoughts. Okay, so starting at this table, is there anyone here that you're like a professional athlete that I would love to meet? Christine St. Clair? Cool. That would be awesome. Amazing. Anyone here? Pardon? Caitlin Clark? Who is she? Basketball player? Cool. Who's he? Sweet. That would be awesome. Okay. So I don't know if you guys heard them. Steph Curry. I think most of us know basketball. Are they figure skaters? Oh yeah, okay, Tessa Virtue, and who's the other one? Cool. Can't think of any athletes that you'd like to meet?
Oh, I had to say Sidney Crosby.
Okay, yeah, totally. Crosby, that would be awesome. So cool. Here?
Zoe Fleck.
Who's Zoe Fleck?
She's a volleyball libero. She played on Texas Longhorns.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Over here? Ruby Tui? Cool. I saw Ruby Tui at the World Cup. She's so nice. She like wouldn't get on the bus. They were like, she was signing autographs and running everywhere, and they're like, we gotta go, Ruby. And so they'd like try and usher her away, and she'd like sidestep them and run over and like sign more autographs and hug more people. She's so awesome. So all of these athletes you guys are listing are people that started where you did, right? They were kids once, they started with not those skills that they have at like the highest level. And it's hard to meet them as a fan, but officiating is a really cool way to get to meet lots of professional athletes. And you might not be officiating their game, but even then, getting your foot in the door to meet people is super cool. Travel. So reffing provides tons of travel opportunities. Mostly, like people that are professional refs that only do that, they're going to somewhere else every weekend. If they're international refs, they're going to different countries every weekend. There's a rugby league called the HSBC Sevens, and it tours around the world for their season. And they go to Singapore, and they go to London, and they go to Vegas. They go to all these different places, and the refs that are with them, they just follow them around. They go ref all those games. They get accommodations in all those places, and they just get to go travel there. They ref all weekend. Some of them stay for part of the week and check out the place. So that's really cool. Even if you're younger, there's opportunities for travel. So as Parker mentioned, with some of like the grants that are available, they might need refs somewhere else that you're not there. And if you access some of these grants, you could get a ride or get free transport up to Edmonton for a reffing conference or something, and maybe just even in Lethbridge you've never been to Edmonton, and be like, yeah, that would be really fun. That'd be really cool. Lots of the different refs that travel, it doesn't mean that you have to be like the highest level to travel. It's at every level you get to travel different places, as widespread as the league is, and you get to travel for reffing development. So when I went down to New Zealand, I actually went down to try and attend a reffing seminar, and I had someone in the family pass, and I had to come back early. But I watched the World Cup games with other refs and got their perspective on it, and it was really interesting. Different places, like we all have the same rule book, but different places, there's different emphasis on what your refereeing or officiating and what you're really like putting a lot of emphasis on as a ref. So in rugby, the rule book's huge. There's so many laws. And law trials happen around the world. And one of the first places the law trials happen is in the Super Rugby League in New Zealand. They'll trial a law before it goes anywhere else. So you might get a chance to see how that law works in a smaller league. And you might just even get to know more about laws before anyone else as they grow. Okay, so this is an official from Canada. Julia's been an official in Japan, New Zealand for international tests. She's also reffed the 7 series that goes from Hong Kong, Dubai, Cape Town, Hamilton, Sydney, LA, Singapore, Vancouver, Toulouse, and London. And she was just named as one of the match officials for the Rugby World Cup. So she was selected to do that. She got flown out to New Zealand to do that, and she's from Canada, so that's really cool. And I think she's 31. So it's not that long that it takes you guys to be even getting on that level. Sometimes as an athlete, it's like a really go, 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 right? If you're not in the Olympics by the time you're 24 or whatever. But careers might take longer, and a reffing career, it's actually, you can really quickly go through the ranks because we always need refs, and if you're passionate about it and interested in it, you can move really quickly. And then you get a lot of cool memories. Okay, so some thoughts you might have about officiating. I don't think I'm good enough to referee. First of all, everyone starts green, which means that everyone is like the first time they've done it. They're not well-seasoned referees. Everyone has to do it at a first time before they can do it the 100th time, right? If you can learn, you can ref. Mobility needs depend on the sport. So example, volleyball, rugby, running. So most of you in here, we did that little activity when we did Simon Says, and it looks like most of you guys have at least enough mobility for volleyball. So I think that everyone in here could find a sport to ref if they wanted to. And mentors are available and necessary. You might not be good at it right when you try, but if you think about being an athlete, how many times do you go onto the field and you don't make a single mistake? You think like, I didn't make any mistakes that game. I don't know about you guys, but that's like never happened to me that I was like, I didn't make a single mistake. And I know it's scary to think that as a ref, but you might make some mistakes as reffing. Same as athletes, no one goes onto the field and makes no mistakes. I don't know where to start. Each sport has its own regulations about who can be a youth sports official. In general, you'll need to attend a few officiating classes, take a test to prove you have knowledge of the sport and its rules. If you start with a sport you're already familiar with and love, then that's good. I mean, you couldn't pay me to officiate baseball, absolutely not. But there's lots of sports I like, so if you start with a sport you love and know some rules, that's a good way to go. And it makes remembering the technicalities much simpler because you already know a lot of them. If you've played that sport, that's even better, but you don't have to have played that sport. Next. Ask the athletic director at your school. Does everyone know who put your thumbs up if you know who the athletic director is at your school. Okay, if you think of a sport that you might want to ref, if you approach them, they'll probably know where to send you. Or ask a coach or a teacher to help you get connected to those people. You can just do some Googling and say, hey, what do I need to referee? You guys are all much better with computers than most people that are adults now, so just, that works. And see if you can get it paid for. There might be opportunities if you're just like, okay, I do want to do this, and you see that it's got a $30 charge for this, or the reffing clinic isn't in Lethbridge, but there's one in Calgary, and then it's way up there and you don't know how to do that. Talk to us, talk to Lethbridge Sports Council, see if we can pay for it, because then it removes a lot of those barriers. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys about reffing and officiating. Is there any questions for me? Things people want to know? Questions about reffing? Who has been swayed a little bit and might try reffing before they graduate high school? Nice. You're graduated, sir. Okay, cool. Thank you guys so much for having me. I would love it if you think about the benefits of reffing and consider it. It's, I mean, great way to make a little bit of money and all the other reasons I listed. And thank you guys for coming today. You guys already, just by being here, have showed some leadership in sport. You said you'd come, so that's awesome. Great first step. And I hope you learn a lot more things today.